are also all-time high. You move to Bamenda, in Bamenda Food Market, in Quen Market, in Tat Market, right down to Kun Market in the Momo division. The prices are all the same. You move down to the West region, you will still get the prices the same. You go down right at the East region, you will get the prices the same. The common man in Cameroon is having it difficult to put food on their table. I remember those early days when our parents, our fathers would give our mothers 2,000 francs CFA. When I'm talking about the early days, I'm talking about the early 90s, where 2,000 francs could feed five children in the house, as well as the mother and the father, and change will be given. In fact, you will have good quantity of food. I remember also at the time when our parents will give us 200 francs for celebration of national days, such as the Youth Day and the 20th May celebration. We will go with the 200 francs and we'll buy a lot of things. I also remember when a tin of sardine used to have 5 fishes inside with a good quantity of oil. And I also remember the early days when you have 200 francs, you buy a good loaf of bread. And also remember when 300 francs will get a size 5 ball. I also remember when 200 francs will get a good quantity of sugar cane. And I also remember a point where 3 cups of rice used to be sold for 100 francs. And I also remember the point where a cup of groundnut, the bigger one, the milk container, used to be sold for 25 francs. I also remember a point when red oil, a liter of red oil, used to cost approximately 250. And I also remember a point where vegetable oil, which is known as groundnut oil, used to cost approximately 400-350 francs CFA. And that time, those eating it were considered to be luxurious good. And I also remember a point where interurban transportation was 150, sometime in Bamenda 125. If you have to move from my Enquen, move right down to City Chemist roundabout. I also remember when, to those of you in the Southwest region, where you have to move to the Independence Square, known as Bongo Square. If you are from Moya, you have to pay 150. I also remember the time when you have to go to the Northwest region of Cameroon. If you are living from the Southwest region, you have to pay 2,205. I also remember the point where you have to take interurban transportation across other regions. You have to pay 1.5. But things have changed, and lots of things keep changing. The prices are now very difficult these days. For you to feed a family of 5, you will have to take 10,000 per day, and the salary rate of Cameroonians is constant. In fact, the salary has not increased as Cameroonians are struggling to put food on their table. The nightmare of this situation is a recent bill that have been adopted at the parliament, and one is tempted to ask if these parliamentarians are Cameroonians and are truly born Cameroonians who live the reality of thy worth no tongue can tell, thy welfare we will win in joy and love and peace, we will be to your name ever true. Cameroonians are asking, are MPs living to the name of Cameroon ever true by voting the new finance bill? Thy welfare will win in love and joy and peace. And Cameroonians are asking, who will be to your name ever true? That the land of promise that you said you are voting against this bill, the land of glory you said you are voting in favor of this bill, that is going to be exorbitant for us to bear. When I'm talking about this bill, I'm talking about the increase in the prices of fiscal tax, which is a fiscal stamp, which is now 1.5, which used to cost 1,000 francs CFA, and also the road worthiness, which has been increased to 50%, as well as other taxes that are been increased, and other commodities that have also experienced a price increase. This and more, Cameroonians and yourself, you are asking the question, when shall we be free from all these? I remember one thing that is said in a song that I love so much, that emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None that yourself can free your own mind. I have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. And that was sung by Bob Marley. In the days of tribulation, as we are facing now with the increase in prices, what can we do? All we hope and pray that God should intervene. This and more will be yours on our program today, House of Commons, with me, Tah Mai Javis. You're welcome back from that transition. If you are just watching us, watching House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Javis. Today's edition, we are looking at two topics. We are looking at the roadworthiness, the increase in price of roadworthiness, as well as the silence of opposition members. And I ask the question, are our opposition members on vacation? Are they on holidays as they see what is happening in Cameroon, as well as civil society organizations? Have they gone on holidays? That bills like this are voted with an increment of 50%, and MPs who are supposed to be at the back and core of their people have not even taken the pain to go and explain to their communities why these taxes have been increased. Should Cameroonians not pay their tax? They should pay their tax. In fact, it is a duty of Cameroonians to pay tax so that the government can provide vital services such as security, health, education, environmental relief funds, just to name but these. These are the things that we must pay our taxes for the government to use to carry out their activities. And I also want to draw to your attention, when the mobile money tax was increased, MPs did not go to their localities to explain to their community, to their people, why these taxes are. And the one question is, do this MP live among the people? And are they Cameroonians that feel the burden of Cameroonians? Here in the studio, we have Professor Innocent, who is here with us. He is an economist, also someone who actually understands the dynamics of Cameroon's economy. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tah Mai Javis. Well, I hope that by the end of this debate today, we shall be able to propose a lot of things that could help improve on the situation of the economy. Thank you very much.
Also here in the studio, we have Mr. Clement Vitalis. He is a member of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM. And Mr. Vitalis, happy Sunday and thanks for joining us.
Happy Sunday, Javis. Thank you for inviting me once more. I wish to greet my family in Binshwa, the Bonko family that are watching me now. I think we are going to discuss many things that at least is going to give a lot of knowledge to Cameroonians that are watching us now. Thank you very much.
I thank you very much. Also, to those of you watching us via the social media handle, we want to say happy Sunday to you, Godi Akeba. Happy Sunday to you, and we want to also say happy Sunday to you, Frank Enongene. Happy Sunday to you, Fluent Rapper. Happy Sunday to you, Tata Senyu, watching us from UAE. Happy Sunday to you, Nkongo Robinson. Happy Sunday to you guys, all those of you watching us via the different social media platform. We want to say happy Sunday to you. I begin the program with you, Mr. Clement Vitalis. When we are faced with this situation, many are pointing fingers that it is the regime in power, and the regime in power is bound by one symbol, the symbol of flame, which is best described in letters as the CPDM. And many are saying that it is the party that controls has the best majority in the parliament that voted in favor of the increase in roadworthiness, as well as Vignette and Vignette.
Yeah, Javis, I want to make it very clear that the parliament does not belong to the CPDM. The parliament is made up of so many political parties. And if prices of things were increased and the opposition did not show up or protested, I think we cannot blame the whole thing on the CPDM, because the CPDM is a party and the government is different from the CPDM. And I want to believe that when you look at the political atmosphere in Cameroon, it's clear that the opposition is almost non-existent, because there are so many things that have been happening. And so when all these things, they happen, and the opposition, they don't do anything to salvage the situation, I think it is as if we are running a one-party system in Cameroon. So I want to believe that we should not shoulder everything to the CPDM, but it should be the responsibility of everybody. I always say something that most of the times we as Cameroonians, we have collectively failed to live to our expectations, because many people believe that everything is on the shoulder of President Paul Biya, and that President Paul Biya should be omnipresent at any place and at any time, which is the wrong concept. So we should not blame everything on the regime. I also want to say that sincerely, we are disappointed with members of parliament, some members of parliament that we elected to represent us in parliament, because at this particular point in time, we were expecting that parliament will sit and see ways that they can reduce the cost of common commodities in the market. Instead, they choose to increase the prices of those things. I was even surprised the other day when I read that the import duties on rice, which used to be 5%, have been increased to 10%. I think it's very bad. It is not something that we should come here and begin to glorify parties, because when it comes to the welfare of everybody, we should keep party instincts aside and speak the truth. That is going to help each and every Cameroonian. So I want to believe that if the opposition, and I'm very, very much disappointed in the opposition, because when such bills come up in the parliament and the opposition, they just sit quiet, it means that they are not there for the interests of the people, but for their own interests,
okay,
which for me is not very good.
You have raised a couple of issues as far as the increment is concerned, and you said, and I quote, that the parliament doesn't belong to CPDM only,
yes,
and it's made up of a mirage of other parties that makes up the parliament, that constitute the legislature. Yes. And in reality, when we look at the majority and we go by decision making in the parliament, is it not fair to say that it is a CPDM that controls the parliament that has the obvious majority? Because of 180 MPs, more than 100 of the MPs, around 150 or so, are members of the party. And secondly, you also said that it is if the opposition members cannot react and cannot protest, it means that they too should not blame. No, but opposition members like Cabral be Joshua Osi, with their small population, and look at the fact that decision is taken on absolute majority, what can they do?
Mr. Javis, we did not see any protest from the opposition.
They did
parties.
after they did the press conference, and they said they have rubber stamped. That was more of a rubber stamped.
Yeah. Okay, sorry that I did not.
And they blamed your party because of its obvious majority.
Maybe I didn't follow up, but I want to believe that we should not shoulder everything on the opposition, because on the government, we should not shoulder everything on the government, because I said here, all of us in Cameroon, we have collectively failed. We have failed in our duties. We have failed because when people are assigned to do their duties, be it in the CPDM, be it in the opposition, they don't do it with the love of their people. So I think that
so it's a collective responsibility.
It's a collective responsibility of every Cameroonian that we have failed.
Professor Inonse, you seem not to agree.
I do not agree, because all the powers of this country, all the laws that dictated, I use the word dictation, that dictated Cameroonians by the ruling system, by the ruling party, the CPGM. And then in their majority, you see the position of crime. There are even some of my friends that are in the ruling CPGM government, for example, who are parliamentarians. We've seen that they have stood up, they have cried, they have even addressed ministers in parliament because of the poor response to certain situations in this country. But they stand to their faith, because these people do not want to see anything that is good about this country. Let me tell you, my dear brothers, I might be wrong, but I want to actually be very specific here. Our government, the political party, which is the majority in parliament, the CPDM, from all indications, since 1982, if you have to carry out an observation, a critical analysis, you will see that in everything that they do, in all the laws that they force onto Cameroonians, there is every evidence to believe that these men and women of this ruling party do not actually want to see anything that's good for Cameroonians.
And
they don't want to see anything. The happiness of Cameroonians have been stolen completely since 1982.
And they are voted by the people.
No, who? Well, you can claim that they have been voted by the people, but let me tell you that sometimes ago, around the 90s, even around 1992, for example, when I was still actually involved in political parties, politics, for example, I saw situations that were horrible. I don't want to narrate them here, because it looks like elections that occur in this country, the results are already known. People are forced onto the people, even people who are very, very incompetent. We have parliamentarians who don't even know anything about perhaps an environment, about the economic situation of the country. We have ministers who are as well in the same direction as well. And so whenever they have a budget to manage, you find it difficult. They can't do anything with that. But then there's nothing wrong with increment in taxation, for example. If this increment in taxation has to do with the welfare of Cameroonians.
Vital services.
Taxes have been increased year in, year out, but our road network remains the same. There's no access to potable water for Cameroonians. Electricity becomes a problem. Health institutions, even education institutions remain the same. They are even deteriorating. Nothing is happening. So how can we be happy? And then you come this time around and then you double the taxes to the working population, the working class, the upper working class as well. What do you expect us to do? Do you want to kill Cameroonians? Do you actually love this country? We can't be talking about, if we talk 150 out of 180, for example, and 150 men and women, they stand up and said, no, that Cameroonians must suffer. And then you say that CPDM cannot be blamed?
And this 150 are voted by the population.
Professor, when you say Cameroonians, you've raised a lot of issues, and I want to get follow-up on that. First of all, you say these laws are dictated.
Yes.
But we live in a democracy. And
that is Cameroonian democracy. Please, when we talk about democracy, let's be very careful, because it depends on the definition. Each and every country, it's not like the one.
Okay, what is Cameroon democracy?
Cameroon democracy is not called democracy apaisée.
Because we have a minister, we also have government officials who say Cameroon has advanced democracy.
No,
and that very soon we'll be exporting our democracy to countries like Nigeria, the US, to tell them that, okay, this is democracy.
Are you sure that they'll be willing to accept this kind of democracy? Democracy that wants people to suffer?
No, but when you say want people to suffer, what context?
Well, the evidences are really glaring, my brother. Because you see, like I told you, since 1982, Cameroonians have been suffering. We do not have any good access to road network, electricity, water supply, educational infrastructure like health infrastructure as well. Cameroonians have been proud to have a very big hospital in this country that can attend to each and every one without even ministers being flown out of this country to go and receive treatment elsewhere. With all the taxes that we'll be receiving. Look at our universities, for example. Do you have good laboratories? What have we ever fabricated in this country because of this increment in the taxes? Are we proud of a good road network in this country? Go to Yaoundé, our capital city, and see for yourself.
Okay, Professor Innocent, briefly, before I hand over to either Tebong and the rest of it, there are some issues that I want us to get clarification so that the people don't misunderstand us. You said the results of the elections are known. But we have the Independent Election Observatory, which is ELECAM, that carries out the results, and we all watch from the Constitutional Council that if you don't agree with the result, you go to the Constitutional Council and have your voice heard. And so when you say results are known, we have seen others opposition winning in some constituencies. Do you want to, by chance, say that they buy those results too?
I'm not saying that they buy the results. What I'm simply saying is that well, but have you not seen how political parties have been protesting? They have their own results. Then what you call Independent Electoral Commission also have their own results.
Even in the US, we saw Donald Trump who protested.
Yeah, he did. But let me tell you, I have, let me not say, I had one of my teachers here who taught my University of Douala. He belongs to the Central Committee of the CPDM. And he told us what happened maybe around 1992.
Okay, that's done. I'm talking about post-1992.
Post-1992, opposition parties have been crying. And then me too, that have been having some opportunities to maybe supervise election elsewhere.
Okay. You
see results that come up from the ballot box, and then you see the ones that have been declared. That's totally different.
You also briefly, you also talk about the issue of that we've not had an increase in road network, but since President Pobia will say that the only thing he has not accomplished as far as road network is concerned is the promise he made to Bamenda about the ring road, which has been for 30 years till then, which we have not had that. But we have had the Yaoundé highway, which is under construction with modern toll gates, and we've also had some other local road networks
under
like
construction?
Yes, and also they would claim that you see the Bakassi road, the Onigu road, though we are hearing that it was constructed by, it was funded, but it's part of the within the Bias regime. And you also said that universities in Cameroon have not been able to do something. We have University of Buea that actually do carry out DNA tests, and we also have University of Buea that produces its own water marketing.
Yeah, they do that. That is we are saying that we would have been having something which is better than that. That's just an miniature. You can.
And we also have a lot of private universities that do a lot of things.
Of course, that is private. We're talking about government. What has government done?
They are within the Ministry of Higher Education. And
they
mentored by government universities.
Excuse me, they're within the Ministry of Higher Education, but they fight to be competitive.
Okay.
Yes, and most of the private universities can have those kind of infrastructure, but when you go to government universities, you will not find them. Let me take for example here, at Topeka just said, where you have the School of Medicine, we would have been having a reference hospital in that particular institution. But go there, I don't know, maybe you can only find test tubes in the laboratories.
And the good news is that the Babaju-Bamenda road is under serious construction. And I'm an eyewitness. I passed there yesterday, and I saw the quality of the tar. I was very, very impressed with what government is doing. I want to believe that by 2023, the nightmare of traveling from Bamenda to Babaju will be history.
After 40 years.
Maybe that could justify. Maybe that could be one of the reasons why these taxes have been increased.
No. Is that because? Is that due to? Is that the taxpayers' money?
We have just been joined by two fine gentlemen, Nick Anu as well as Christain Tebong. Nick Anu, who is a member of the civil society, member of the civil society that also look at issues affecting the nation. Nick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks also for having me here. And happy Sunday to our televiewers and happy Sunday to my co-panelists. Thank you.
Now, the MPs, members of Parliament, have voted that okay, we should increase fiscal stamp from 1,000 because fiscal stamp was normally about approximately 200, 500. It moved over till now they say okay, let's increase it by 50%. So we have about 1,500 from a fiscal stamp. Vignette and Worthiness have increased to 50% increment. Now with all these, do this MP really care about their people? Do they really understand the pain of their people?
Of course, it is. They have never cared. That's why they are in the business of wanting taxes to increase on a daily basis or yearly. To me, it is not really a bad thing for a budget increase. Of course, budget increase is a sign of growth. If as a family also, if your budget is not increasing maybe every year, a family that is on a growth pedestal, the budget is supposed to increase every year, but the bone of contention should be the reason for this budget increase. So if you look at it critically, you will see that the parliamentarians are so much interested in playing the agenda of the government. That is like the government send this bill to the parliament every year. I think it should be in every July. There's a document the Ministry of Finance always send for the parliamentarians to study in preparation for the budget. And in a country where the budget is always talked about every year increase, and then you will never hear in parliament ministers coming to give account of the previous budget. That has always been my concern. You never hear the ministers coming to give an account to the parliamentarians what they did with the budget of the previous year, and they always come and to come and defend the budget for the new year, to the extent that sometimes you even ask some ministers some questions, they will get angry at you, the parliamentarian. So it just shows the kind of parliament we have. To me, it's just a kind of rubber stamp parliament that we have. The parliamentarians don't care, and they have never cared. All they are doing there is for their personal interests. To me, it's not to the interest of the common man. So, because to me, if you increase taxes every year, the usefulness of that tax, those taxes should be seen on the life of the people. The people keep crying every day and they keep increasing their burden. If you look at the cost of living in Cameroon now, it is almost the same like living in the US or living in most advanced country, but development-wise, we are not advanced like those countries.
And the standard of living is poor.
Yeah, the standard of living is very poor. Most families only fight now to eat. It is a very pitiful situation that our own parliamentarians will be. They are acting more and worse than colonial masters. Because
no, you cannot tax them acting more than worse than colonial masters. These are government who are fighting for our interests.
No, I don't think they are fighting for our interests. If we fight for the interests of the people, it is seen visibly on the life of the people. It is not something that would talk only on air. The people will be able to feel it and feel the impact that they are fighting for them. If you keep increasing taxes every year, increasing physical stamps, a government that keeps increasing taxation is a sign of a bad governance system. And if you look at it very well, you will see that the bone of contention is the cost of governance. The cost of governance in Cameroon is very, very high. Why not, in order to raise revenue to maintain this budget, why not reduce the cost of governance? Ministers in Cameroon, ministries in Cameroon, they have, if you look at their budgets every year, if you look at the amount of money they control, the useless things they do with those money.
No, you cannot equate. No. You cannot equate things that these ministers do in good faith as being useless. Maybe they may not be your priority, but others their priority. We have seen how savons have been distributed, 2 savons, 1 bucket has been distributed. We've seen how other things have been distributed. You cannot say they are useless.
No.
We saw how a chief rejected a bucket, but it was not useless because some other community received it.
Of course, Mr. Javis, most of these things are, I'm saying that the cost of governance in every country is something that's supposed to be checked. Cost of governance, the cost of vehicles our minister drive. If you go to other countries, ministers buy their own vehicles. If you go to other countries, parliamentarians buy their own vehicles and fuel them.
What you say other countries? We have not.
Other countries that are far richer than us.
But Cameroon must not be a copy and paste.
We are not saying that it should be a copy and paste country. We are talking about the plight of the people. Burdening the people to pay taxes for you to maintain and eat fat. Meanwhile, the poor people continue to become poor. It is a very bad system. That kind of system, that's what we are saying and emphasizing here. If you increase taxes, we should see good roads. But instead, the roads, the supposed good road we even had, have deteriorated to the extent that we don't even have any road. The supposed Yaoundé Douala road you mentioned, that you said the president ordered for the construction, that road has been there for 10 years and it has not gone up to 30% completion. And they have ended somewhere in one forest in Yaoundé. And the budget that was earmarked for that road has been doubled about 10 times and the road has not even gone up to 30%. So these are the kind of things we're talking about. The budget voted every year for ministers to embezzle it, so that the burden, for them to balance the budget, they keep the burden now on the people. So and by increasing taxes, because this is what is happening.
You said the budget voted for ministers to embezzle. Are you by chance saying all ministers are embezzlers?
In Cameroon, you cannot foresee.
No, it's a yes or no. Are you by chance saying that you say for ministers, without exception, to embezzle? Are you by chance saying that Nick is saying that ministers are embezzlers?
Some ministers are embezzlers, and he has been proven.
You said now briefly, I'll have to come to Tebong. You raised some issues. You said it is not bad to collect or to increase taxes, as long as there are things tangible which are being done for this. But the government will argue that they are doing this because of the fact that they have to invest in electricity, like in Longpanga, Minvele, the Nanga Eboko Dam. They have to increase electricity for Cameroonians to have electricity. The government will also say that they are increasing these taxes to security, to provide vital security, like the crisis in the northwest and southwest region, that in the northern part of the country, and in the eastern part of security challenges. That's why they are increasing these prices, these taxes, and making life very somehow tough to some extent. And also that the health sector, like Kumba, the destruction of some hospital and reconstruction of some parts in the northern and southwest region, they'll need this fund, so they have to reduce their national debt and to make sure that they raise it within. And also talked about the fact that the road network, we've seen the second bridge across River Wuri, though the Boya Douala road is still in its way, but we have seen meaningful effort by the government to resolve, to help in the Boya Kumba road by having carved areas without filling them till now.
Mr. Javis, I want to take this scenario. If you as a father, you have your children are supposed to go to school, you budget their fees, you budget money to buy their things, and you see that your neighbor eats cooked rice and chicken every week or every day, and you want to imitate your neighbor by eating rice and chicken at the expense of your children's school fees. What are you supposed to do? You are just not supposed to follow this trend of life of your neighbor so that your children can go to school. What am I saying in essence? I'm saying, and I'm still saying, that the issue in Cameroon is not increasing taxes, but increasing taxes for the good of the people. And we are saying that you must not even increase taxes as a government. For example, the cost of governance in Cameroon is a bone of contention. If you reduce some ministries in Cameroon are useless ministries.
No, you cannot. No. I think we take exception. No, we take exception to that. My media prime take exception. You cannot say some ministries are useless ministries because at the time of priority, the government.
I'm not giving an example. I'm saying that.
No, we take exceptions to that.
I'm saying that some ministries in Cameroon are doing the work of other ministries, meaning that you have in Cameroon about 3 ministries doing.
Yeah, but not saying they are useless.
Of course, what is the use of having doing one and the same thing? One and the same thing. Why can we not have a common Ministry of Education in Cameroon?
Environment. Okay.
Environment and nature protection. Because it is a split of all these ministries are consuming all this budget. And the people, the common man is the one suffering at the end.
Prof, 30 seconds. I want to come to Tebong.
Yes, please. I was also trying to suggest that when it comes to those kind of budget heads that have to maybe deal with war, for example, we could minimize them. What is the essence of fighting war? We can minimize them or even eradicate them. We bring in peace, and then we solve that problem. The budget head will be zero, and then we invest that money into the Cameroonians to improve on the welfare of Cameroonians.
I'll be coming back to you for follow up on that. The government says they have done a lot as far as that is concerned. Christain Tebong, you are looking at this situation. The MPs have not gone down to their people to say, okay, we know you people are disappointed about the increment, but it is for your own good because you cannot eat that. You know, you have to break the yolk before you eat it. You have to, you cannot eat the omelette without, breaking it, so it's kind of very difficult. That for every tough time, you must pass through, for every enjoyment, you must pass through tough time. So, is it not also for the interest of the people to know?
Okay, thank you very much, Javis, and thank you for you to give me this opportunity to discuss on this very important topic. And I want to extend Sunday greetings to everybody. If you are saying that MPs should go down to the people, are you talking of now or they have been going down to the people?
I'm talking about now that there is an emergency.
You are a journalist. How many MPs have you seen them go down to the people to explain that this law was voted in Parliament? This law was voted because they want this particular interest. They want to arrive at this particular solution of this country. Let's be realistic, please. Once we are talking about the issues that concern this nation, you cannot increase the taxes and the people in Furawa are not able to purchase savon, soap. A cube of soap there is 450, 500 francs. And you want us to buy fiscal stamp for 1,500. How many thousands of students graduate from the university every year? And you launch concourse, and they don't have money? How much is the minimum wage of this country?
should be about
Close to 38,075 francs. Something.
Yeah, 38,770 something francs.
Okay, now, if you are telling somebody, to write a concours, for instance, I've just launched the police concours, and maybe that person was saving as a houseboy somewhere after graduating from school, no job. He has picked interest in getting into the service to save the country as a patriotic Cameroonian. Then you want that same person to pay fiscal stamp for 1,500. Not only one fiscal stamp, he has to pay what we call money order, which, to my own knowledge, I know that money order, if you engage in a concours and you are not able to pass that concours, there are monies that they have to refund. If
it was called the mandat?
Yes.
Yes.
It's called, have they been doing that?
I've never seen that.
Yeah. Money is refundable, and the money that is not refundable, they write it there, it's spelled out, 25,000 francs for medicals, not refundable. It's written. But today, you're talking of MPs sit in parliament, they eat well at the Hotel de Député. They say, no, we have increased our budget, is now plus 250 billion.
For the interest of the people.
The interest, I like that, for the interest of the people. Let me ask you something, Javis. It's very important to discuss about this. We are not saying that Cameroonians should start crying or going to the street. We are not saying so. We are saying that if our MPs elected by us, because I'm saying by us, the people of East Cameroon, because, why must I say so? The people of West Cameroon, the last election, I'm not sure that up to 10% of the people voted the MPs. Because none of them have gone back to the people to tell them.
No, some have gone.
No, let me learn.
Excuse me, to tell them that, okay, thank you first for voting me. We are in parliament, we are fighting for your plight. And today we are discussing about the roads in your community. We are discussing about water in your community. How many of them hold radio programs? There are community radios in almost all the communities in our country. MPs are the people's representative. They directly represent the people. Directly. That is, an MP is a normal human being that is supposed to discuss with that old mama that does not have Maggi. That old mama that is not able to afford vegetable oil. An MP is not supposed to be perched in Yaoundé. Immediately after the session in Yaoundé, the MPs are supposed to return to their constituencies.
Exactly.
But today, we have plenty of our MPs. Most of them are watching me. Most of them, they know that they live basically in Yaoundé and other cities. They migrate from their villages.
Maybe they are there to do lobbying so that things come to their community, because you must be in Yaoundé to do lobby for projects to come to your community.
I hate the word lobbying.
I tell you.
That is
legal word.
Excuse me. That is a kind of an idea, an ideology that some of our MPs put into the local people. Tell the local people that no, we are there. That is not their work. Their job is to vote laws, to legislate. That is their job. It's not to tell us. Let me tell you something, Javis. An MP, before he or she leaves his or her constituency, he or she must have gone to the people, meet the traditional rulers, meet the traditional council, meet the local councils. They give them their priorities. They write down, they put the project now. Once they are going to Yaoundé, they are not going to lobby for those projects. They are going to submit the needs of the people. Are you understanding? They are submitting the needs of the people. It is not up to them to go and beg a minister to tar road. The road that is in Guzang, my village, is it not the Cameroonian road?
It's a Cameroonian road.
So are you saying that if there is the people of Guzang don't have road, the Cameroonian people should be happy that, okay, we are fine this way and the people on the other end are not fine? No, sir. Please, I want to make it clear. The MPs, their rule is to vote the laws. If they vote the bad laws that they have just voted, it will affect everybody. But it doesn't affect them because they don't live in the same communities that they have voted that law, that the law directly affects the people.
You raised issues there. The MPs have never gone down in the Northwest and Southwest. No, you said MPs have never gone down. Your word, you said they have never gone down to the field, and that even to go and say thank you for voting us, and that we should focus more of the MPs from East Cameroon. But when the conflict started, we saw two prime ministers move down to the Northwest and Southwest region sent by the president, accompanied by members of parliament at their different constituencies. The prime ministers always work with members of parliament. We saw how the young delegation went to the Northwest and Southwest with MPs of Lawrence in Kumba. We have Malumba in Fako. We have other MPs in Fako who went down to Kumba with the PM. We also in Bamenda, we saw Ngala Gerard, a good number of MPs. I also saw how MPs were sent to diasporas to talk to those people who have influence in their community, in their constituencies, during the advent of the Anglophone crisis. We saw how MPs also came during the advent of the Anglophone crisis to talk to their people during the John Gutes-led government ahead of the Grand Major National Dialogue. We all watched how they were talking to their people, say, Papa don't talk, say, me una talk, say, me that boy and put gun for down. Papa don't say, we say, more talk, say, we saw how they, where is it go down to the field? In what context are you saying? And Galadia is always in
excuse me, if I said all the MPs are, therefore I've said something that is not correct. I said some MPs, okay, as my brother over there said. There are quite a good number of them who are going down on the field. We've seen the member of parliament for the Kambe constituency, the Ndonga Mantum, gone down to the field. We've seen equally the one of Bafut and Bamenda. Even in Fako, Malumba, Honorable Malumba. Yeah, we've seen quite a good number of them going down. For Lawrence, but my point here, Mr. Javis, please, MPs are not supposed to be descending from somewhere to come and talk to their people. They are supposed to live with the people. We are just saying this thing because we're saying the crisis has gone up, the crisis has gone down. Sir, the cost of living, the increment in fiscal stamp is not because of the crisis. If you are telling me it's because of the crisis, then we should stop. The crisis should stop now. The crisis should stop. The crisis is supposed to stop now. Let's stop. Is the fiscal stamp only for the people in the Northwest and Southwest? People in Betu are also going to purchase the fiscal stamp for 1,500. The vignette. Let me tell you something that you don't know. As they have increased the cost, the prices of vignette, fiscal stamp, that is how transportation fare will increase. Don't be surprised that to go to your village, I don't know when last you visited your village, you'll be unable to go there because of the cost, the transportation fare. Number two, you raised a point about MPs came from Yaoundé with the Prime Minister of the crisis. I don't just want to go to that. No, it's not even what we are discussing here. Because when they call yourself a member of parliament, the local representative that represent the people in the legislative arm of government, we are mixing two things. We have the mayor, who is the leader of the local council that governs local resources with the people, with you and I in the local area. They governize local resources and see how they can bring the development of the local community. And you have another person who comes from that same constituency that goes to Yaoundé, sits there to tell the government what the people are passing through, what the people think, okay, and how they feel about governance. Excuse me, let me learn. They have not told Yaoundé that a cube of savon in Cambe is 400 francs. If they had told them, then the President of the Republic should increase the minimum wage. They don't need that. Okay, thank you. Mr. Kimbeng, when Christain Tebong raised an issue about the minimum wage of being 38,000, close to 75 francs, and you said it's much,
Were you by chance, were you carried away that is that small or it's much?
No,
because
sincerely, let's face facts, it's very, very small.
Okay.
As compared to the...
Because it's a much, I wanted to follow up to do a bit of mathematics.
As compared to the cost of living in Cameroon today, because sometimes when you go to the market and you buy the things and you come, you might think that you send a child to the market, you might think that the child has gone and been cheated. So to face facts, it's not really easy. That money is too small. And I want to believe that the minister who said that 38,000 francs is much, please, Mr. Minister, let's be very honest to ourselves. Even your son cannot use that amount in a week. So yes, even in the day. Please, when it comes to a sensitive topic like this, we should forget about party affiliations and we deal with facts, because these pains that we are going through because of cost of living is not because it's not only the opposition militants that are suffering it. Both the CPDM militants and the Cameroonians are suffering. Then coming to our point when you said I want to talk much about my constituency, which is in Cambe. After the National National Dialogue in Yaoundé, you discover that the only person that was able to go to the field, that is always with his people, is Honorable Tah Mai Javis. He has been there before. He moves to almost all the villages. He has explained to them. And last time when the Anglophone crisis broke up, we saw him in Binka village when there was a conflict between the Fulani and the Wimbum community. He went there and explained to them that they are all brothers and sisters and that they should live together as one person. And so it's not like he must be living in Cambe before you can be a very good a parliamentarian. Even when you come to Ndu, you also discover that Honorable Naomi, she has been there communing with the people, moving from one village to another and doing so many charitable works, which is very commendable. So I want to believe that not all the parliamentarians are what we think. Some of them are very, very exceptional. And that's why when you go to those areas where the parliamentarians are exceptions, discover that the conflict, the Anglophone crisis is less in those areas than areas where some parliamentarians and mayors are artificials. So they just hear them that we have a mayor, they have never seen him. We have a parliamentarian, they have never seen him. So people should be very, very factual in the way they do things. People should not pretend, because what is killing most Cameroonians is that we pretend, we give an atmosphere of something that does not exist. We give a name. And one thing is very clear, when you talk about this issue of parliamentarians doing this and that, you discover that most parliamentarians, they don't commune with the people, they don't work together with the people, and when election comes and they discover that they cannot be voted, they are forced to cheat. And that's why we hear a lot of cheating. You have never seen Bolivia.
Let me ask you this question. Yes. Let me ask you this question. You have raised an issue that that most parliamentarians, your choice of word, you said most. Yes, most parliamentarians don't commune with the people, which yes. means that if I go by the question, do they think about their people? Which means your response is in the affirmative. They don't think about their people.
No, when I talk about parliamentarians, I'm basing my facts on my own constituency, which I'm very versed with.
Okay.
I cannot talk for Momo constituency. I don't know what is happening there. I cannot talk for Bui. I don't know what. I don't know. Even though I know, I don't know. I'm talking about. I'm talking about my own constituency that I know my people, and that is why, for me, I have something with me. I'm a politician with a different. I don't vote for parties. I go in for people who can deliver the goods.
But then we're dealing with the whole nation.
Yes, I go for people. Yes, I go for people who can deliver the goods. That when I observe the constituency, I discover that those who were put at the forefront, these are people who can go in and will have something positive. I said, no, let me join the queue.
Mr. Vitalis, these MPs, let's take few mathematics.
Yes.
Minimum salary is 38,000 francs CFA.
Yeah.
No, let me be just generous. Assuming that somebody earns 180,000 francs CFA as salary, basic salary.
That is a top civil servant.
Yes, let's put it at that category. And that person has a car.
Yes.
that let's say the visiting was previously 50,000.
Yes.
Or the Vignette was 50,000. So approximately it is now 100,000 now. And that is periodic. And now let's come now to the aspect of visit technique. Let's say the visit technique was 30,000. Approximately it is 60,000. So we are talking about 160,000 francs saving. Let's go now to the basic aspect of school fees. Let's say that child is in a private university, let's say state university. Let me be generous too. 50,000 francs. Now 50,000 francs plus handout. So we are talking about 100 and close to 200,000. Now let's look at this person has to buy fuel. Fuel has increased a bit. Has increased. Now this person has to drive with the traffic situation and the bad roads that we have. Now can this person cope? If you are looking at those MPs in your constituency, what will you tell them? Looking at this field mathematics, you just said when we send a child to a market these days, you may be tempted to say the child has stolen money.
Yes. Fortunately, I'm somebody who I know my MPs in persons. I talk with them in persons, and the unfortunate thing is that we cannot have people who will feel the pains of other human beings like them. So they might be in parliament and the effect might not be felt because the kind of people who are like them, there are not many in parliament. If you look, I'm not here to glorify somebody, I'm here to face facts.
Okay.
Yes. If you look the way this crisis have been managed in Donga Matum, you will discover that that's been managed differently. Why? Because most at times you find the parliamentarian from Cambridge Central in the market drinking palm wine with villagers, drinking shower with villagers, and by so doing, he helps to explain certain things of the government to them.
Okay.
I have personally gone to the office of Honorable Nkala Gerard to ask him certain questions. And when I left his office, I was satisfied.
But at least he has an office. But what of
the village?
What of others who don't have offices?
It's not like it's not like he must go and reside in the village.
No, his office. Where is office?
He must go and reside in the village. You understand? It depends on the interest that you have for your people.
Okay.
You can go and reside in the village and you'll still be the worst.
Let me take some messages. You react to that, Professor. Greetings to you in the studio. I always said, and I said clearly, that Cameroon does not have a parliament. The parliamentarians are just very dishonest and do not care about the common man. Special greetings to the CPDM member in the panel. I respect him a lot. I doubt if he is a real CPDM. I am Aya Fred in Douala. Aya, he's a real CPDM, man. I did not bring him under a different party. Come on. Good afternoon, Mr. Good morning, Mr. Javis. There is not even doubt, a little doubt, that the parliamentarians in Cameroon have least feeling for the vulnerable people they pretend to represent. Mr. Javis, do you know that an increase in tax is an indirect reduction of the income of fiscal income earners? Do you also know that this price hike is another salary reduction to the fixed income earners? Are these people who amass a lot of wealth and drive in luxurious cars know that they have endorsed a salary reduction indirectly? Do they really care for the helpless common man they pretend to represent? Enomulu, writing from Bamenda. Enomulu from Bamenda. This one reads, it says, on taxes, in most successful countries, government reduce taxes to encourage investment among its people. Of course, we increase the increment of taxes if those taxes goes into the society to solve problems. We barely have good roads in Cameroon. So, what is an excuse for the tax increment? I think we as Cameroonians are the problem. We fail to hold the stakeholders accountable, but rather we gossip and do nothing about it. If we want to change, we should study annual projects and ensure that they are implemented. If these projects are not realized, there should be an account as to why it is not realized, and that can be done by the people, especially the constituencies of where the project should be executed. This one says, this is just for you, not for public. that I am not being fair to the panelists, that I need to allow them to talk. Of course, if you are keen to the program, I allow them to explain their point. I come with follow up. So I don't interrupt your analysis except follow up. And there are some words too I cannot let go by when some words are made for the purpose of respectable journalism. Journalism doesn't mean that we should not respect some canons and also protect the interests of the territorial integrity of the state. Whether I like it or not, we're in Cameroon, and we are doing this program because there's peace in Cameroon. And if there's no peace, we will not be doing this program. So my canon as a journalist warrants me to do what I'm doing. There are programs where I allow people to talk certain things. There are programs where I cannot. So you have to bear with me. But in case you want to be a panelist, you want to come and say some of the things that you think are bothering you, please, the number is on your screen. Come and join us to talk, as long as you take responsibility for your statement. We are free. Contact me and come and talk. I'll include you in our WhatsApp group. When the topic is posted, you come to Fengu Dombange and talk. This other one, it says, greetings to you and my father and brothers. I don't know if Mr. Journalist, if it reports news or to be judged. You see things clearly, but you don't want to accept the truth. Please quit journalism and join the government to frustrate us more and more. Stay blessed, all of you. Stay blessed. Courage, my fathers. My father will know the truth. Much love. Oh man. Briefly, I want to come to Professor Innocent for moving to the
Professor, there's something I want to add here.
Yes, please.
Why we are facing these problems in Cameroon is because
I would blame the educational system. Everybody is hanging on the government. The type of education that they give our children does not make them to be entrepreneurs. It makes them, everybody, when you graduate from, you see people, like the other day people are graduating from Bamenda. Everybody is waiting that they should launch any ANS, he will write. Yes. Everybody is waiting that they should launch police, he will write. Everybody that they launches. There's nobody who is thinking that I can do something that will help myself. No. The other day I said, this insect that I used to draw in school and label it, what has that insect, drawing of labeling of insect, how is it helping me today? Because we have a lot of stuff that is being pumped into our children that are useless stuff.
No, it's not useless, because those insects, some of them are harmful to crops.
Who discovered River Niger? Who discovered this? Who discovered this? We're climbing on our head and we're carrying. I told the other day that...
Are you firing shots at Prof?
No, you're firing. The other day my friend came from Mumbai, India. I was talking with him very proudly and discussing how I know about India. And the man asked me, Vitalis, how do you know, where do you learn all these things about India? I said, I learned in school. He asked me, to do what with it?
Excuse me,
are you firing shot at Prof?
I'm not firing any shot at me. Excuse me, please.
You see?
I think
the type of education that they give us make us to be very vulnerable.
Okay.
Government can do anything to us because we are all hanging on.
Your party is the government in power.
Yes. And then again, you see, you were talking about history, the Mungo Parks and the like. That is history. The Cameroon government falls short of history, because if they knew that the cause of the French Revolution was because of a simple increment in the price of bread, they wouldn't have been increasing taxes just at random. Maybe because they just simply feel that they have the military, they can just clamp down on people who may want to protest. And then again, let me also want to clarify one thing. We just ended a conference at Economy Superior Polytechnic here on solar energy. You need to be there to see exactly what Cameroonians can do. They can do a lot of things. Cameroonians are excellent. They can do a lot of practical work. But the problem is, with the increment in taxes, how many Cameroonians can create enterprise in the country here? Are you seeing that? It is not so. And then again, the educational system is being controlled by the government. Whatever government wants us to do, we'll do it. If we have a responsible government, we will have an educational system that we want to have in Ghana, for example. You find people who leave school and are able to do certain things. Government invests in that particular sector. You go to the university, you find out that even in Nigeria, go to Ibadan University, go to the other university, high-class university in Nigeria, you find out that the institutions are well prepared, such that students coming out, they do not depend on the state. Most of them, I studied also in China, for example. You find out that even with the large population, students, when they leave school, for example, government support them somehow, because they've been trained There's what they call entrepreneurship, for example. Students have that great knowledge, and so they're given a small capital to start business. Their taxes that are levied on the students is almost zero, and then they have a payback period. But our country,
some of you who are so educated should be able to guide some of us, maybe who did not go up to the professional level. But when you now cry like us, you confuse us the more.
Excuse me, I'm not crying. I'm not crying. I'm not the government, for example. I'm simply telling you that what we are doing, the government imposes all of those things onto us. They control the economy. We can't control anything. I think you see that. I am not the president of this country. And let me tell you, if I were the president of this country, it will not be the same. The system will be like what we have in the private universities. We will not have things of formality, but we will have syllabuses or syllabi that are going to actually solve the problem of Cameroon and not just solve the problem of England or the United States of America or France. Because that is actually one of the major problems that we face in this country. We say we must follow the French system. We must follow the British system and not the like. We don't have any Cameroon system of education. That's a clear situation there. Okay.
Prof, briefly on this, I'll move to the second topic. You raised an issue that the budget head should be slashed down, and that if we are, because when when he talked about the fact that taxes should be increased, but if they are increased, something tangible it should be done. And I also talked about the fact that maybe the government looking at security and all those providing these vital services. You said one of the ways to reduce these taxes for the government to sue for peace and reduce the war so that the budget can be safe. The government says they have had major national dialogue, they have been discussing with the people, they have had digital center, they have had reconstruction team, and also, a lot of these things the government says they have done. So don't you think that we should also at least tap the government on their back?
Well, maybe they have tried to a certain extent. They think that what they've done is actually very correct. But we are thinking that they would have done more.
Okay.
We can actually stop the war. We can stop the war. We can stop the war, and then now we totally forget about fighting wars, investing on military equipment and all the like, and then we focus on most important things.
Javis, let me ask something. There is something that we do in this country, and we end up keeping the blames on President Paul Biya. There are people that come up with wrong suggestion, knowing fully well that this thing we are bringing on board cannot work. But since they know that they will tap money from it, they bring it as a solution to a problem, which is so artificial, and at the end, it doesn't work that way.
Like what upset them?
Like what you have just said about major national dialogue and the rest of the things. Please, those were very artificial. If I say artificial, because if
members of your parties said they were good dialogue, that we had effective major national dialogue.
I want to be very frank here. Some members of my parties, they are not truthful. That's a fact.
Majority of them, about 95%.
If we are facing facts, we will discover that the major national dialogue.
Part of Dr. Ningwanya, who is of the CPDM as of few.
Yes.
No, he's not CPDM. He's a progressive CPDM.
If we are facing facts, we discover that there's something that people enjoy from a wrong system. A system is going wrong. People will glorify it because they know that they are benefiting from it, which is very, very wrong. Look, there's something. People know the truth. People know how they can solve problems. But they know that if I solve this problem the right way, I'm not going to benefit anything. So it's better I solve it the wrong way.
So that they will benefit.
Because yes, that is the truth. People don't feel for others.
It's
very bad.
We are out of time for this first topic. I think let's move to the second topic. Professor Innocent, maybe I'll begin with you, Tebong, before coming to Professor Innocent on this. I'll begin with you. The two of you are grossly being marginalized on this panel. These two of you have been marginalized. So let's be fair. Let's do our own major national dialogue here by being fair. We are looking at opposition parties. Are the opposition parties on holidays? Talking about opposition parties, civil society organization, or we look at this tax increment, the price hike, or we look at the difficulties for Cameroonians to put food on their table. One would have expected the opposition to come to an amalgamation. One would have also expected the civil society organization, the different foundations that donate things to come together and write a communique begging the head of state and his members of parliament to see how they can rework this, be an alternative of raising taxes. But where are they?
Okay, Javis, thank you very much for giving me the floor once more. When you say opposition, are they on holiday? What do you want opposition to do? Do we have an opposition here in this country? Yes. Tell me an opposition that we have. Maurice Kamto does not have a member of parliament. They don't have even a single representative in the State House in Yaoundé. You were saying, are they on holiday? I'm surprised that are you coming from somewhere? Are you in this country? Opposition in this country are not like opposition in South Africa. You are a good researcher. I think you've been watching on YouTube and TV how the EFF
of Julius
Malema will sit in parliament, will stand up in parliament and fight for his people. You are not in parliament to go and clap for when the honorable speaker speaks, you clap. No. You are there to tell the honorable speaker that this law that you want us to vote, our people will suffer. So if the opposition party has joined the ruling party to clap hands in parliament, you don't expect me to say that, okay, opposition party, they are supposed to say something. What do you want them to say? To write communiques? Let me tell you something. During this session, we saw Honorable Cabral Libi, sorry. He spoke in parliament. He said it. He explained how the bill will affect the common man. But later he joined in the voting. So it is let's be serious here. If you see that this thing that we're about to vote, the ruling party want us to vote this bill, and this bill will negatively impact the life of my people, my constituents. The only thing is to walk out of parliament and make your voices heard. Keep on educating the people, organize rallies, and tell the people that no, this thing that the government, the ruling party, has forced us to vote or have voted or validated in parliament, we were not in accord. We were not in the same view with them. It will give members or Cameroonians the feeling that they have opposition, because we have a feeling that we don't have opposition. We have the MRC, they move on the street and gather people. That is not it's not all about that is not all about politicking. They don't have members. Excuse me, Prof. I'll come. They don't have members of parliament. If they had members of parliament, they can go there and debate. But I am saying that we don't have any opposition, because the ones that are in parliament, they are not doing anything. Thank you very much.
Okay. Prof, you wanted
I want to just come in, please. Just very briefly, please. You know, sometimes ago, the Social Democratic Front had a very large number of parliamentarians. And because they were too vicious, like what you're talking about now, they have been reduced to almost zero. So any political party has to take precautions.
Okay. Tebong, you said we don't have opposition, but when you look at the parliament, we have SDF, we have UBC, we have CDU, and also you said we watched in 2016 when SDF stormed the restroom and took it hostage, and we saw Honorable Weber on 2 occasions. The first time he sees when he said, Mr. Speaker, my people are suffering in the Northwest and Southwest region, and he said, Mr. Speaker, if you take whatever, and the second time he came back, he said, I'm here for the same reason, where he said standing order, and in that same period, the next session, we saw SDF all rose up and started singing, oh, you go Kiwi Taya. Yes. Oh, then they started singing Lope, Iva Mal. Then the CPDM MP started singing Selo, SDF, Kiva Mal. We saw the chaos in the parliament. Is that not also good opposition struggling? Was that not part of the effort?
Been cured.
That is not only part of their effort, that is what they are sent to parliament to do. They are supposed to be doing that on a daily basis.
Okay, and now I get you. Nick, where are the civil society, your kind? Where are people like you, opinion leaders? We're expecting that they'll come together, probably denounce this, probably write to MPs, probably send letters to MPs of their different constituency, or visit MPs to ask what really went wrong, or maybe there's something to this that we don't understand. We can be saying, maybe we can be protesting or saying these things on TV, without really understanding what people actually voted for and the reason. Why are you people? Why is civil society?
The problem is not just one sector of the country, like the civil society or the opposition leader. The problem is the system of governance in place. The system of governance in place so hostile to the extent that it can sting anybody at any time. So everybody is just being careful the way they do their things. So even up to civil society organization, you will see that civil societies in Cameroon are regulated by the Ministry of Territorial Administration. There are certain things, there are certain civil society organizations that if you are not very strong, you are not very careful, the ministry will fight you in all ways. If you are so critical about the government, about the things they do, they'll fight you in every way. So most of the times, it is not even the civil society organizations. Of course, we've seen what other civil societies in other countries do. They are just like the watchdog of every nation. But in Cameroon, it is very difficult to survive. Like the opposition parties. The government has, over the years, struggled and fight in all ways to clamp down anything, any opposing voice that has stood on their way for them to carry out their agenda. And we have seen them over the years since 1992, when opposition parties lost their places. I think it was in 97 that opposition parties lost their place in parliament. Since then, we have never really had any parliament in Cameroon. We have just
after the boycotted 1996 parliamentary election.
Yes, we've just had maybe a playing to the gallery, like you just have a few parliamentarians of other parties to maybe give impression to the world that we have a parliament in Cameroon. But if you have a parliament in Cameroon of 153 members that are from the ruling party, you cannot really call that a parliament, because the voting, whatever passes in parliament is by vote, and no matter what the opposition will do, if you care, you cry, the CPDM will always vote according to their party discipline. If it was even in a democracy that you can vote a B according to your conscience, but in Cameroon, the CPDM party own your conscience. They own the conscience of their party.
No, when you say they own the conscience, we have seen objective analysis from members of the party. Mr. Vitalis are you accusing Mr. Vitalis of not towing the party discipline?
I'm talking
are
about.
You accusing Dr.
I'm talking about those who are in parliament, because this is a powerhouse.
Are you talking about
nation.
also Professor Nyamdi for not towing the party discipline?
No, all those people are. Maybe they are talking for personal interest. Professor Namdi, for example, maybe he wanted a ministerial post. That's why he was being critical of his fellow party members. So it was not like it was for the interest of the people.
So you are saying that Mr. Vitalis is criticizing some members of his party because he's there for his personal interest, not just because of what he wants for Cameroon.
I'm not talking about Mr. Vitalis. I'm talking about.
No, you said that. You said no.
Yeah.
You said those who are criticizing or who are probably a bit outstanding from the general CPD are there for their private interest.
Yes.
Private interest. But whereas they are still doing their rhetoric some more of the opposition. So we are by default you are saying that Mr. Vitalis, who is criticizing the system, is more for his private interest and want to be appointed minister.
Maybe. I've studied most of these critical CPDM members, and I've concluded that most of them are saying that not because they really love the people. Most of them, they have saying that because they have not been appointed director or minister or somewhere. They have not been appointed to lucrative positions. That's why they are criticized. They are so much sounding like opposition members of parliament.
The thing is that we are all sure that they blame on President Paul Biya. President Paul Biya is like a father to me.
But he has to bear the blame.
No, he has to bear the blame. He's the because he's the one.
He's president.
President Paul Biya cannot be omnipresent everywhere.
But he incarnates all these people.
We are collectively paid because President Paul Biya could not have been the Minister of Finance, could not have been the Minister of this. They are present people that he trusted them.
Excuse me, why is he keeping him? If he can discover he's incompetent?
That's why we
why must he keep him for 15 years?
That's why we are more than 20-something ministers.
Excuse me.
And then what has that changed?
Excuse me, please.
Has that stopped embezzlement?
Mr. Nick, if you are the President of the Republic, and then you find a ministerial department which is not operational well,
yes,
you make sure that that minister is replaced. If you allow the minister in place, then the blame goes to you.
We're talking about opposition. We're talking about opposition.
But the opposition has not done anything to be blamed.
My question to you,
replace them, and
my question to you: where are the opposition members? Where are the civil society? We were expecting that this civil society, the different civil society organization, even opinion leaders, will rise up and go and meet members of their constituencies.
What do you expect?
And ask for explanation.
What do you expect them to do?
I don't hold it.
What do you expect these people to do? Like Mr. Nick has just said it all here. The system has put in place measures to ensure that anything from a protest or anything that stands on the way of this particular government is actually cut down.
No,
we are not talking about protest. My question to you, Prof, is
protest is not a bad thing.
Excuse me, Prof. My question to you.
Excuse me, please. Let me just cut it short. Take the case of the MRC leader, for example. What happened to him? What happened to the militants?
Prof,
Prof. That was because of something that we wanted to correct in this country.
Professor, my question to you is, we expect, keep aside opposition, and let me focus now on civil society. We expect civil society and opinion leaders to go and meet these MPs and find out, is there something that we don't see based on this law that people voted? No, we are not seeing. In other societies, you will see joint communique coming from civil society organizations about either condemnation or requesting MPs of their constituencies to provide answers or resign with immediate effect. Though in Cameroon, we are blaming the government, whereas the members of parliament are at their constituencies, and opinion leaders who ought to do that are not doing it.
Well, in some other cases, for example, if you take, for example, Mezan, for example, I don't even know how those people were voted. So
that's their constituency.
Yes, you just find people. I did not even know. Somebody told me that this person is the parliamentarian for this. We didn't know anything about that. So absolutely true. If you talk about the case of Mr. Angala, for example, Adami, for example, we have been getting some headlines, even newspapers. Those are people who are active from the Northwest region, for example. Those are the only people that I know, for example, they're the parliamentarians. They have been trying to make one or two things, or do one or two things for the constituencies. And for the other ones, well, but then, Mr. Javis, let me tell you one thing here. There's the system that we have in place is not one that actually allows for corrective measures to be taken so that the country can grow in a particular direction. They have hijacked the country. The law for the country is no longer there. If we had what they call participatory democracy in this country, for example, our parliamentarians would have been able to know exactly the problem of the people that were saying before they moved to parliament. And then when we move to parliament now, all the parliamentarians from the 10 regions, they become Cameroonian parliamentarians. They are no longer parliamentarians from maybe Northwest, South, whatever thing like that. The problems that we're going to solve, they are Cameroonian problems. We put them on a scale, and then we prioritize this project. And Sikibong, we're going to handle these problems. At least from each region, a small project should be implemented. So in the end, we say the glory goes to who now? It goes to maybe the leadership of this country, because it is he that coordinates everything. But then when we don't do it like that, now we start failures. They will start blaming parliamentarian X or Y. No. Individuals need not to be blamed. I think that the head of state bears the blame.
So you are casting the blame on the head of state, who was not the members of parliament who voted this bill.
Lack of control, lack of coordination, lack of
When you say lack of control, what do you mean? In a country where the head of state has been giving his report every 31st of December.
Report?
In a country where the head of state has been giving another report every 10th of February. In a country where the head of state has delegated power on high instruction to the prime minister to execute. In a country where the ministers, especially territorial administration, is moving every part of this country to ensure that the vision of the head of state of the country becoming an emerging one in 2035 is respected. In a country where we also have the Ministry of secondary education, higher education, and basic education working so hard. Also in a country where the scientific research and innovation has been able to help us produce fever gas.
If we had maybe just a single evaluation of each of those ministerial sectors, then we know exactly what we're supposed to do, what did you do, and they would know the efficiencies. We would have been saying that actually there was something effective that was done. But we've never known that. He made mention of a particular point. He brought a particular point here. He talked about the budget, for example, the budget heads. Each year, all the ministries come up with new budgetary heads. This is what we want to do. We have never asked ourselves, what did you do with the budget of a previous year? What were your accomplishments? We keep adding the money. Nothing has been done. So all of those things is just a way, I think, what they call gaspillage, wastage of the resources that would have been put into other important sectors of this country to keep Cameroonians better than what they are today.
Good afternoon. We wish to thank the CPDM representative and pray he helps change the other CPDM militants who respect party laws instead of fighting for their people. I love you, sir. This is coming from Ebua from Bafusam. This other one reads, it says, hello, good morning, good afternoon, happy Sunday to you all. Panel in the studio. Just a correction of the amount of minimum wage in Cameroon. It is 36,270 and not 38,000. So someone said in the studio, I am Doba Javis, a blogger following you guys from Yaoundé. So it's not even 36. This one says, good afternoon to you in the studio. The tradition of parliament system, the tradition of a parliamentary system is quite strange to the French system of governance. It is a borough system. They are not familiar with all things. That man is right. What are the MPs doing? Are they even aware of the people who are going through? Are they even aware of what the people are going through? How can prices rise without a corresponding rise in disposable income? The government does not promote entrepreneurship in any way. Interest rates are high. No student loan possibility. Lack of youth funding organization by the government. No, but I think there's PJU and others that the government is funding and that the government is giving. There's PJU where youth can actually go there and write their project, and maybe they can defend anywhere. They have their funding. Depending on the circumstances. So I don't want to say home mafia, but there's something like that. There's something like that. So there's something like that. Greetings to you, panelists. What are the MP referring to? What MP are you referring to? Please, we don't have MPs in Cameroon. What we have are yes men and handcappers. And that was your search. Please, Mr. Vitalis, I strongly disagree with you on that. You said we should also blame the educational system. Only the government, and not only the government. Let me ask you, who gave the school curriculum? Is it not the government? Who does that? Who does that which the educational system do? You want us to blame? You want us to blame? This is coming from Mundi from Boya. Romanus, who do you want us to blame? Mr. Vitalis, that's addressing to you the same question that you are talking about.
Yes. The professors and all the learned people in this country should not just sit and submit themselves to the government as if they are so vulnerable. They should stand up and talk. They should stand up and do something. If you go to Nigeria, I'm not saying people should go on strike.
They have been talking.
If you go to Nigeria, you'll see that the ASO in Nigeria, they have been on the government's neck because they want some reforms to be carried out in their education. But if we have professors, people who carry very big degrees, and they just say, we are just receiving from the government, then it's as if they are very vulnerable. We have some of these MPs that are just advanced level holders. I mean, they come and impose on you, I just take it, and you sit. After all, they have imposed on me. I think that you are not really defending the certificate that you have. The professors and all the learned people in this country, you should come up with something and come up with a curriculum that at least will be job orientated. Propose it to the government. If not, you stand by it. You say, no, we are not going to teach church to our children if this curriculum is not respected. So we just sit and say, no, the government we are just depending on the government. It's as if the education that we are acquiring
is zero.
Thank you very much, bros. What you're saying is very pertinent. Let me tell you, it is not even the duty of professors to do that. In the last 3 years, for example, we had curriculum development of our institution here.
Yes.
We invited businessmen because it is not even we to impose on the people. The businessmen come in, they tell us exactly what is required for this kind of thing to be attained in our country. And then we work on that particular premise to now come up now with subjects or courses in the curriculum that can actually solve those particular problems and make Cameroon prosperous. That was actually done, and then we had at the time one of my colleagues who worked so hard because he tried to apply the Canadian system and American system because those ones are actually job oriented. But in some other cases too, you see, I don't know exactly how they do it, because somebody comes in now and then he overruled that particular system and then he talk about the system francophone. I think we see that. And then that system now like this, you see, with that particular kind of system, let me tell you, like this man, we just discussing with him what I'm going through. What you see there, le system francophone, is no longer the Cameroon system. And we invested, there was a lot of money we put in that project. Businessmen and women, enterprise holders, proprietors, and all the like, they were there. Entrepreneurs, they were there. 1 week, we worked on that particular curriculum.
Okay, we are seemingly, we have just about 3 minutes to go. If we look at the normal studio time to go, I want to come back to you, Christain Tebong. What should be the way forward? Since we say we don't have, we see our MPs already went on holidays before this tax even increase. The opposition went on holiday before this tax increase could even come. What should be the way forward for the man in Kilaiki, the man in Kun, the man in moved down to Mombeka, Messager? What should be the way forward? At the time when the minimum salary is 36,000, if you have to pay your rent in your house, let's say you pay 15,000 for rent, you are level 15,000, your take home cannot take you home. What should be the advice? Yeah. And if you are talking to that MP, to what we tell
Javis, the common man has no way out. We are now vulnerable. Our hands are tied. The only thing that I will say here is that we plead on the head of state, the President of the Republic, to send back the bill to Parliament for revision. Because when you, if he has an alternative, because he might also have directive that he has given. Okay, vote this bill. This is what I will do to inject more money into the economy. Are you understanding? He can say, okay, our country is growing. Our country is growing. Our economy is growing. So vote the bill. Since the people are poor, I will increase minimum wage. I will add salaries for civil servants. I will inject more money into the private sector and so on. Maybe he has his own way, his own formula that he will use. We don't know. Maybe on the 31st, we will know exactly what he has. Because, as you rightly said, his report, he always give balance sheet on 31st December. But for now, we are calling on the head of state to send back the bill to Parliament, to call on MPs for revision.
Okay.
Because we are even talking about MPs who have forgotten about another group of people, the senators, who are supposed to review, to have the second reading of the bill, but I'm not sure they did. so
we're out of time, Tebong.
Yes, the head of state should think again, send back the bill to Parliament.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Javis. I think the responsibility goes to the Cameroonian people. We have been pushed to the wall, and we fear in the days ahead, fears in the year coming, maybe a repeat of 2008.
No, it cannot
because
happen,
of all of this increase.
No,
we don't pray for that, but as an analyst, I fear that.
Okay.
If this bill is not sent back to the Parliament, as my co-panelist said, for revision, we cannot keep milking the people every year, as we say. One day the cow can fall down and die. So
Professor Innocent, thank you for coming.
I stand with the ideas of Mr. Nine.
Yeah, Javis, I read about the budget increment of the parliamentarians, on personal budget increment of 1 billion to solve their situations. Solve their small situations. And I almost shed tears. It's as if they can increase their own budget to solve their small situations, then they increase taxes on us.
So they removed the 8 million.
Maybe it's because maybe they want to create more offices.
No, they say there's small situations.
Yes, some of the situations because people are blaming that they are young. Maybe they want to come and create
all of
offices.
us we have small situations.
So they
we should solve our own small
Exactly. Yeah,
Mr. Vitalis.
I want to say that, please, members of parliament, members of the Senate, we are all living in Cameroon. We all feel the pains.
And we all Cameroonians.
We are all Cameroonians. We love this country. Like you people also love this country. If you are taking a decision, please take a decision that will favor all of us. A decision that we will live and feel the Cameroonian dream in us. Don't take a decision that will impose more suffering on us.
Okay.
I'm just begging you people.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Professor Innocent. Thank you, Mr. Vitalis from the CPDM party. Thank you, Christain Tebong, and of course, Nick Anu. If in case you want to be a member of our program, you can contact me on the numbers on your screen, 676431384. I will include you into your WhatsApp group. Instead of saying that Mr. A is not saying what they are supposed to say, he's supposed to say this, B, C, and D. You can come and take responsibility for your statement. This program always comes up at exactly 12 to 1:30, and you can follow us on our YouTube channel. BT Media Group is our YouTube channel. Facebook, My Media Prime, or BT Media Group Facebook. Our Twitter handle, My Media Prime Twitter handle. You can follow us there, and you can have a rebroadcast at exactly 10:30 p.m. I want to say a happy Sunday to you, a Tampa Mike and the newly wedded couple. Also, happy Sunday to all those of you who took our time. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matters is your matter, and what should matter for you is that you should stay out of trouble. And MP, please become Cameroonians and feel our pains. Bye bye.